We're about to get in the weeds on this thing, but right after this word from our sponsor.
Twitch presents our next big thing. Something long promised, but never delivered. Getting paid for using Twitter. For how many long years have you toiled for free on this God-forsaken site? What a mess. What a shame. What could have been. But now Twitch is here to save the day yet again. You'll finally be getting paid for all your hard work.
Oh, baby. We alive. What's up, people? Hotep Jesus. Chad, say something.
What's up, everybody?
Beautiful.
I'm here.
No, I'm just checking the
All right.
audio. I didn't know
All
if I
right,
had
all
the
right.
audio or not. Welcome, people. My good people. Hold on, my camera is doing this. There we go. We gotta talk about a very important event that happened, but before we get into that, let's pay the bills. Oh, that's why I was off, because I'm sorry. I know the screen looked different. First, let's pay the bills. Shout out to our sponsor of the month, Syscoin. Syscoin is the best of Bitcoin and Ethereum. Security of Bitcoin. Flexibility of Ethereum. If you're a blockchain developer looking to maybe put the world financial system on a blockchain, I don't know. Go check out Syscoin. If you're a speculator, go check out Syscoin as well. This is no financial advice, but if it's something you'd like to do, go check it out. Really, really good people over there. Really great team. It's basically if Bitcoin and Ethereum had a baby, you'd probably get something like Syscoin. Shout out to Men of Order, menoforder.com, our official sponsor of masculinity and all things men. Make sure you go check out menoforder.com. And also HotepCon, August 11th to the 13th. You get to hang out with me, Uncle Hotep. This beautiful white man you see in front of your face that works for the FBI.
Let me go get my hat.
Cannon Hotep gonna be there.
Yeah.
Sonny Johnson, Project Rook, Kim Klasick, Crypto Wendy O. Who else we got? Cassius Cam and Ricky Bascom performing. So much more. Tickets include food and a 3-night hotel stay. Go get your tickets at hotepnation.com. I will be updating the site with more details about the event so everybody's clear, but I will be talking to our guests intimately about intimately and individually about things I think people need to hear from them. So without further ado, let's hop into today's conversation. Apparently Roe V. Wade has been overturned and everybody's losing their shit. And I think that both sides are off. As far as the majority is concerned, I know there's some conservatives that understand what's going on, and I'm sure there's some liberals that understand what's going on. I'm sure there's some progressives, and there's, the educated, the informed people know exactly what happened today. And there are some people who know exactly what this decision meant today. However, they are going to proliferate and purport an agenda. They are going to perpetuate it. That's the triple P of progressivism. Proliferate, propagate, and perpetuate. Okay, maybe it's 4. Let me sip my coffee really fast. Hold on, because this is my first coffee today.
Go ahead.
Oh, so good. Okay, so where was I? So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna dive into this Fox News article. We're gonna read the Fox News article, see what it says about this case, correct the people that are wrong, and then we're gonna dive into the actual bill itself. We might not dive into the actual bill itself if this Fox News article covers what I've seen in the first 5 pages of the actual transcript, or what is this thing called, Chad?
From the opinion, that's
the syllabus. This syllabus of the Dobbs versus Jackson decision.
Right.
Yeah. Dobbs, state health officer, versus Jackson Women's Health Organization. Chad, first of all, I'd like you to tell the people your opinion on what's going on while I look something up.
Okay, that's fine. So the reason why I actually reached out to Hotep Jesus a little while ago, saying, "Hey, look, if you're going live, I'd like to join you," because I think that one of the things that we have to keep in mind is, while this is monumental in terms of returning this power to regulate this particular procedure at the state level, and returning that closer to those communities is always better. I still think that we have to keep in mind that it's very important that we offer viable alternatives. We have a situation where the problem is deeper than just how, making something more illegal is not necessarily going to heal the problem that we have going on, which is there are a lot of mothers who don't want to be mothers, and they don't want to take care of their children. And so, yes, killing their children is not a good thing, but I don't know that just saying you can't do that anymore solves the problem of these women not wanting to, forcing women who want to murder their own child to have and then raise that child is not a solution. So what we need to do is we need to start supporting financially and with our time and with our energy some of those viable alternatives that give women some manner of hope. And this decision, this case, that what the Supreme Court did was they actually, at the same time, overturned Roe v. Wade and the Casey versus Planned Parenthood case from 1992, which involves like informed consent and some of the things that were just kind of being swept under the rug, where women weren't being fully informed as to what might actually go on in this procedure, because there are some debilitating after effects that I think a lot of women did not know were going to happen to them. So there are some really good things in here, but I think what we have to be careful of is this is the beginning of a very long, drawn out battle against a culture of death. And the way to combat a culture of death is to offer a culture of life, and not just slam the door in the face of the culture of death. So, and Hotep Jesus looks like he's live in multiple places right now at the same time. But yeah, we're faced with an opportunity to tap into our own charity and our own belief in a culture of life and our life-giving capacity to offer women life-giving alternatives. And so, I think we've been, in a lot of cases, we've been derelict in our duty, myself included, to support some of these crisis pregnancy centers and other alternatives, adoption agencies and things like that can, and the foster system, to try to bolster it and make it not have a lot of the really negative issues that it has with it. So we've got some work to do. This is the beginning, not the end of a long, drawn out battle against the culture of death.
Oh, perfect timing. To see, we're professionals.
I saw you wrapping up. I knew how to rap.
Professional. This is professional broadcasting right here, people. So here's my thing. People are gonna run around screaming, "Oh my God, abortions have been banned," and you are wrong. You are so wrong. Abortions have not been banned. That's not what this means. Mm-hmm. But before we get into that, let's go to this Fox News article and walk you through exactly what it is that we're dealing with. Nope, that's not it.
They didn't ban abortions. They just banned the ability, or the banning of abortions. They banned the ban on banning abortions.
They banned the ban. Supreme Court overturns Roe v. Wade in landmark opinion, it says here. This is written by Ron Blitzer and Kelly Lacko. Let's see here. It says Supreme Court on Friday overturned Roe v. Wade, effectively ending recognition of a constitutional right to abortion and giving individual states the power to allow, limit, or ban the practice altogether. Okay, so let's summarize that. I believe that is the 10th Amendment. No, isn't that the 10th Amendment, sir?
The 10th Amendment is all the powers not enumerated returned to the states, are reserved to the states.
Are reserved to the states. Correct. And that's what they're saying here, right? They're saying, hey, we ain't got nothing to do with this.
Mm-hmm.
This is, and as an American citizen, that is what you want. You don't want a large federal government. I said this before, to support Roe v. Wade is to support slavery.
Mm.
It's to support the fact that your body is now owned by the government. And we're going to see how, on the Republican side of things, how it equates to the same thing. And this is what we're talking about. No matter which way you go on this thing, you are leaning towards an overreach of government, the ownership of your body. We're going to show you how it means that when you're dealing with Republicans. We're going to show you how it means that when dealing with Democrats. So what we're saying is, if SCOTUS has the power to make decisions over our bodies, they own us. You've relinquished all rights. So you're talking about the right to abortion when at the same time Roe v. Wade relinquishes all rights. Vis-a-vis, via the fact that you're saying the court can make a decision on this. The fact that you're saying that they can make a decision on this means the federal government has rights to make decisions later on about your body. So you relinquish all your rights. So it says here the ruling came in the court's opinion in Dobbs versus Jackson, Women's Health Organization. So the name of this case right here is Dobbs versus Jackson, which centered on a Mississippi law that banned abortion after 15 weeks of pregnancy. The Republican-led state of Mississippi asked the Supreme Court to strike down a lower court ruling that stopped the 15-week abortion ban from taking place. So Justice Samuel Alito wrote in the court's opinion, "We end this opinion where we began. Abortion presents a profound moral question. The Constitution does not prohibit the citizens of each state from regulating or prohibiting abortion." Basically saying it doesn't mention anything about abortion. It doesn't say anything. There's nothing in the Constitution that says anything about abortion. Roe and Casey arrogated that authority. We now overrule those decisions and return that authority to the people and their elected representatives. Basically saying, if you want to kill your babies, move to a state where you've elected representatives that allow you to do that. We're not going to judge you either way. That's what you want from the federal government. That's going to give you the most freedom. Now what you got to do is now you got to fight it in your state. If you don't like how things are happening in your state, then maybe you need to fight to kill your babies in your state. I wouldn't advocate for that, but hey, knock yourself out. It says here, Alito's opinion began with an exploration and criticism of Roe v. Wade, and it's holding that while states have a legitimate interest in protecting potential life, this interest was not enough to prohibit abortions before the time of fetal viability, understood to be at about 23 weeks into the pregnancy. The court did not explain the basis for this line, and even abortion supporters have found it hard to defend Roe's reasoning. Correct. Alito wrote, Chief Justice John Roberts agreed that the viability line never made any sense, talking about the fetal viability, but said he would have taken a more measured course with this case. Rather than overturn Roe v. Wade altogether, Roberts said, he would have continued to recognize a right to get an abortion and that the right should extend far enough to ensure a reasonable opportunity to choose, but need not extend any further. Okay. The court's majority took a firmer stance against Roe v. Wade in the subsequent case, Planned Parenthood versus Casey, holding that Roe and Casey must be overruled. The Constitution makes no reference to abortion, and no such right is implicitly protected by any constitutional provision, including the one on which the defenders of Roe and Casey now chiefly rely, the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. 14th Amendment is the right to trial or something like that, right? So it says here, the court's opinion recognized that the 14th Amendment's Due Process Clause, yep, there it go, Due Process Clause, has been found to guarantee certain rights that are not spelled out by the Constitution, but that those rights are deeply rooted in this nation's history and tradition. Abortion, the court said, does not fall within this category, and as such a right,
as such a right,
as such a right was entirely unknown in American law until the late 20th century. the opinion continued to shred the Roe decision, saying it was egregiously wrong from the start and that its reasoning was exceptionally weak. Rather than continue the tradition established by Roe and Casey, that's an error there. Casey, the court wrote that it is time to heed the Constitution and return the issue of abortion to the people's elected representatives. The opinion comes after a leak of a draft opinion from February striking down Roe, caused nationwide debate, blah, blah, blah. So this is basically the libs are going to be losing their head. All right. Do I need to read any more of this? Because I think I want to go ahead and just look at the actual document itself. Do you have that in front of you?
No, I don't. But where are you looking at it? I'll just pull it up there.
I downloaded a copy of the PDF.
Oh, you got the PDF? Okay.
Yeah. If you just type in Dobbs versus Jackson PDF, it'll pop right up.
All right.
Hold on. How are the people seeing this on the screen? Because I can barely read. My eyes are bad.
Yeah, because you got that side panel. Yeah.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah, there's a little side panel that shows if you can get rid of that, it'll show. There you go.
That's all right. I'll just zoom in a bit here.
It's full screen on here now.
All right, here we go. All right, let's get it. So it says Mississippi's Gestational Age Act provides that in a medical emergency or in case of severe fetal abnormality, a person shall not intentionally or knowingly perform or induce an abortion of an unborn human being if the probable gestational age of the unborn human being has been determined to be greater than 15 weeks. Okay. So this is all Mississippi. Okay, so Jackson's Women's Health Organization abortion clinic and one of its doctors challenged the act in federal district court, alleging that it violated the court's precedents establishing a constitutional right to abortion, in particular Roe v. Wade and Planned Parenthood versus Casey. So Roe and Casey. The district court granted summary judgment in favor of respondents and permanently enjoined enforcement of the act, reasoning. All right, let's go right here. Held, right. So it says here, the Constitution does not confer a right to abortion. That's just fact. There's no reason. There's no debate about that. If you can show me the word abortion in the Constitution, then I'll capitulate.
Well, it was always based on this very loose interpretation of the Fourth Amendment, where searches and seizures.
Wait, we about to get into that.
Go ahead.
That's exactly you're on point. That's exactly what this document says. Roe and Casey are overruled, and the authority to regulate abortion is returned to the people and their elected representatives. The critical question is whether the Constitution properly understood confers a right to obtain an abortion. Casey's controlling opinion skipped over that question and reaffirmed Roe solely on the basis of stare decisis. What does that
stare
mean?
Decisis. That's like it's basically precedent.
A precedent, correct?
It's already been decided. Yeah,
that's what I was looking up before when I hold on.
Okay.
So, solely based on the precedent, right? So, a proper application of stare decisis, however, requires an assessment of the strength of the grounds on which Roe is based. The court therefore turns to the question that the Casey plurality did not consider. First, the court reviews the standard that the court's cases have used to determine whether the 14th Amendment's reference to liberty protects a particular right. The Constitution makes no express reference to a right to obtain an abortion, but several constitutional provisions have been offered as potential homes for an implicit constitutional right. Roe held that the abortion right is a part of a right to privacy, and that springs from 1st, 4th, 5th, 9th, and 14th Amendment. So that's what you were talking about before, right? So they're saying that Roe is invoking 1st, 4th, 5th, 9th, and 14th Amendments. COS Code 410, page 152 to 153, says the Casey court grounded its decision solely on the theory that the right to obtain an abortion is part of the liberty protected by the 14th Amendment's Due Process Clause. Others have suggested that support can be found in the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause, but that theory is squarely foreclosed by the court's precedents. which established that a state's regulation of abortion is not a sex-based classification and is thus not subject to the heightened scrutiny that applies to such classifications. Now, hold on a second. This reminds me of something. Did you see the other day one of these companies tweeted out womb carriers? They called women womb carriers. Did you see
we
that?
are lost. We're so lost.
Did you see that?
No, I did not, but it doesn't surprise me at all. This is the birthing persons. See, that's where they fucked up. They called them birthing persons. And then all this stuff happens, and it's like, well, are they birthing persons?
Right here. Verso Books. It was Verso Books.
Okay.
I don't know if the tweet is still up. I don't know if they were joking or not. But I'm assuming they were serious because they wrote this like thread. Here, I'll put it on the screen. Hold on.
So you said it was 1st, 4th, 9th?
1st, 4th,
9th, and 15th?
5th,
something?
9th, and 14th they invoked.
Oh, 1st, 4th, 5th.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. All right, so boom, put that there. And you guys will see it on your screen in just a second. All right. And it says right here, in the 1970s, up to 50% of native womb carriers were sterilized against their will by Indian Health Service. So weird. They're like completely erasing what women are and claim to be feminists and care about women. Anyway, let's get back to this document. Okay, so next, the court examines. Is that where we were? Yep. The court examines whether the right to obtain an abortion is rooted in the nation's history. So this is where they talk about the nation's history, right? Like, where in history have they ever discussed the right to abortion? And obviously, it's a rather new thing. It's a 20th century thing, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to skip most of this and go to the next part. Guided by the nation's history, because that part's kind of, I kind of explained it. It's kind of boring. But they're just basically saying that nowhere in history does it say anything about that. Struggle between the balance between the interests of women and I would have had this highlighted. Okay, right here. Finally, the court considers whether a right to obtain an abortion is part of a broader entrenched right that is supported by other precedents. The court concludes the right to obtain an abortion cannot be justified as a component of such a right. Attempts to justify abortion through appeals to a broader right to autonomy and to define one concept of existence prove too much. Those criteria at a high level of generality could license fundamental rights to illicit drug use, prostitution, and the like, which sharply distinguishes the abortion right from the rights recognized in the cases on which Roe and Casey rely is something that both decisions acknowledged. Abortion is different because it destroys what Roe termed potential life, and what the law challenged in this case calls an unborn human being. None of the other decisions cited by Roe and Casey involve the critical moral question posed by abortion. Accordingly, those cases do not support the right to obtain an abortion. And the court's conclusion that the Constitution does not confer such a right does not undermine them in any way. So basically what they're saying is Roe and Casey don't say you have a right to abortion. That's not what they're saying. They're saying you have rights to other rights.
Right.
First, fourth, fifth, ninth. Yeah, you got right. You got all of that. But no, you do not have a right to abortion. They don't say that. That's not what those cases say. And that's why the Supreme Court has reviewed those cases and said, okay, yeah, whoever made this decision was absolutely tripping. The doctrine of stare decisis does not counsel continued acceptance of Roe and Casey, right? So it's basically the doctrine of precedent does not mean that we have to accept Roe and Casey, right? Stare decisis plays an important role and protects the interests of those who have taken action in reliance on a past decision. That's fine. You got away with it before, you cool.
It's like an ex post facto thing too, there where you can't like go and convict somebody for something that you just changed. Like you can't make a new law and then go,
right.
Retroactively convict
hey,
people of
it.
it.
You broke the law back in the day. It's like, no, you can't.
It wasn't a law then, but
Right.
ignorance of the laws that we're going to pass in the future is no excuse.
Exactly. So this making sense. This all makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
It reduces incentives for challenging settled precedents. Basically, starts like saying, like, yo, stop fucking rushing to the court every second trying to grift.
Mm-hmm.
Saving parties and courts the expense of endless relitigation. So it cites here Kimball versus Marvel Entertainment. It contributes to the actual and perceived integrity of the judicial process. And it restrains judicial hubris by respecting the judgment of those who grappled with important questions in the past. But stare decisis is not an inexorable command. Okay, hold on. Let me go to the next good part. Some of the courts important. The court's cases have identified factors. Hold on. All right, so right here.
The nature of the court's error.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the nature of the court's error. Says here, like the infamous decision in Plessy versus Ferguson, Roe was also egregiously wrong and on a collision course with the Constitution from the day it was decided. Casey perpetuated its error, calling both sides of the national controversy to resolve their debate. But in doing so, Casey necessarily declared a winning side. Those on the losing side, those who sought to advance the state's interest in fetal life, could no longer seek to persuade their elected representative to adopt policies consistent with their views. That's important.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's important.
The court short-circuited the democratic process. I mean,
yeah.
that's the bar right there.
Yeah. Basically saying, like, if you live in a state where you want to live a certain way, you couldn't even persuade or pass any sort of state legislation that aligns with your cultural interests. If we had a purely Christian state, I couldn't do it because this federal mandate, this federal precedent set by Roe and then perpetuated by Casey. Okay, so let's go here. It says equality of reasoning. Without any grounding in the constitutional text, history, or precedent, Roe imposed on the entire country a detailed set of rules for pregnancy divided into trimesters, which makes sense. But like those that might expect to find a statute or regulation, Roe's failure even to note the overwhelming consensus of state laws in effect in 1868 is striking. So basically what they're saying is they set a precedent, but they completely ignored the previous
precedent.
Right.
Right.
And what it said about the common law was simply wrong. Then after, so he's basically saying, he said, yo, they were wrong. Like even trying to set a precedent about the previous law was wrong. Right. Then after surveying history, the opinion spent many paragraphs conducting the sort of fact-finding that might be undertaken by a legislative committee and did not explain why the sources on which it relied shed light on the meaning of the Constitution. Wait, what? Oh, did not explain why the sources, okay, on which it relied shed light on the meaning of the Constitution. Basically what they're saying is you provided all these sources, but you didn't show me how they relate to anything in the Constitution. You just said, hey, check this out. Without
searches and seizures, therefore abortion. Like what?
Right.
Like nobody's searching you or seizing anything. Like they're just anyway.
As to precedent, citing a broad array of cases, the court found support for a constitutional right of personal privacy. That's fourth, right? So it says, but Roe conflated the right to shield information from disclosure and the right to make and implement important personal decisions without government interference. Right. None of these.
What does it mean when you publicize your abortion and go on Instagram and stuff talking about it? Like, aren't you violent? Isn't it like not a Fourth Amendment violation at that point anymore?
Yeah, you relinquished it. You relinquished your right.
It's not about privacy at that point anymore. It's just about you flexing.
Right. None of these decisions involved what is distinctive about abortion, its effect on what Roe termed potential life. And that's another conversation, right? And this is a conversation where I'm like, all right, did anybody bring the science expert into the room? Right? Where's the, you got to have some witnesses, right? You got to have somebody gonna show up in the hearing and provide some sort of, I would say, objective data. When the court summarized the basis for the scheme it imposed on the country, it asserted that its rules were consistent with, among other things, the relative weights of the representative interests involved, which is wrong, and the demands of the profound problems of the present day. Roe, these are precisely the sort of decisions that legislative bodies often take into account when they draw lines that accommodate competing interests. The scheme Roe produced looked like legislation. And the court provided the sort of explanation that might be expected from a legislative body.
Exactly.
So basically, Roe was posing as Congress. Roe basically found a loophole to become Congress. That's basically what that says, right? And even more glaring deficiency was Roe's failure to justify the critical distinction it drew between pre and post viability abortion, right? So again, where's your data that says this is a viable life, right? They failed to provide that criteria that says that. The arbitrary viability line, which Casey termed Roe's central rule, has now found much support among philosophers and ethicists. Ethicists.
Yeah, ethicists. Yeah.
I thought it was 3 I's in there.
No.
Ethicists who have attempted to justify a right to abortion. How can you even be classified an ethicist if you want to justify abortion?
Oh, man.
What are you? You'd be an anti-ethicist.
And that's the thing. Like even as an anarchist, I can see that you can hold these two views at the same time.
Yeah.
That the state shouldn't be involved, but at the same time that it's evil and it's horrible and it's a tragedy,
right?
At the same time, and so an ethicist, I don't see how. I don't.
It's an oxymoron.
Yeah,
it's hypocritical. It's backwards. So it says the most obvious problem with any such argument is that viability has changed over time and is heavily dependent on factors such as medical advances and the availability of quality medical care, which is true. Basically, what this is saying is that the child's life, for example, in 1892, the baby was premature. It had a higher likelihood to perish. Now, in the year 3033, the baby might be able to be born at 1 week and it's sitting in this, you know what I mean? Like it's sitting in this advanced womb, right? Which they probably want to create. And
later on, I want to get into that because that's like, as things advance, that's kind of where I see us like putting our energy into like solutions that make it to where, all right, you don't want to have a baby. We'll find a way to make it to where someone who does want that baby can take care of that baby.
Yeah, there's plenty of trans people who want to.
Shit, stop, man. Why you gotta
see what you walk
why
into?
Why you gotta make me step? Why you gotta make me step in a pit of spikes?
Because that's where we're going. It's it's slippery. It's a slippery, bro. Because in the year 3033, you're gonna have people being born in pods like the Matrix.
Yeah, for real. Oh God.
That's what's gonna happen. That's why they're starting to call
God help
y'all
us.
Birthing people.
God help us.
Because they're going to take a little pod and put it in your stomach. And that's just going to be for fun because they really don't need you to birth the baby. Anyway.
Everybody talks about Orwell, but Aldous Huxley was way more on point with his. Did you read Brave New World?
It's not about on point. It's about where are you going with Aldous Huxley covered the technology side of communism.
True. Yeah. Right.
Orwell touched on the propaganda side. Of communism.
Yeah, facts.
So they're in two different lanes.
Yeah. You're right. But that whole like sex is for recreation and babies are born in factories.
Yes.
And that's where we're headed.
Yes.
It's Demolition Man.
Yes.
So
shout out to Cassius Kim. So it says here, we're going to get to super chats in a moment. Well, after this, it says the controlling opinion criticized and rejected Roe's trimester scheme. Oh, did I read that already? Yeah.
Down when Casey revisited Roe.
Is that where we are? Okay.
So,
when Casey revisited Roe almost 20 years later, it reaffirmed Roe's central holding, but pointedly refrained from endorsing most of its reasoning. So it basically said, hey, we affirm Roe, but we ain't going to tell you why.
Because it's convenient to pretend like we don't know what that shit is about. And that way you won't look.
Exactly. That way you won't look. Exactly. And know how bullshit Roe was.
Mm-hmm.
The court abandoned any reliance on a privacy right. Hold on. Let me see here. Let me write down my notes so when we finish this.
Mm-hmm.
And because I want to illustrate how the right and left are wrong in this.
Yeah. Right.
But SCOTUS is definitely on point, right?
Mm-hmm.
And thank God for Republican and conservative Supreme Court justices, at least for right now. Controlling opinion criticized and rejected Roe's trimester scheme and substituted a new and obscure undue burden test. Casey, in short, either refused to reaffirm, or rejected important aspects of Roe's analysis, failed to remedy glaring deficiencies in Roe's reasoning, and endorsed what it termed Roe's central holding while suggesting that a majority might not have thought it was correct, provided that no new support for the abortion right other than Roe's status as precedent. Roe's status as precedent, and imposed a new test with no firm grounding in constitutional text, history, Okay, so workability. Deciding whether a precedent should be overturned depends in part on whether the rule it imposes is workable. That is, whether it can be understood and applied in a consistent and predictable manner. Casey's undue burden test has scored poorly on the workability scale. The Casey plurality tried to put meaning into the undue burden test by setting out three subsidiary rules. But these rules created their own problems. And the difficulty of applying Casey's new rules surfaced in that very case. Concurring, the experience of the Court of Appeals provides further evidence that Casey's line between permissible and unconstitutional restrictions had proved to be impossible to draw with precision. That's because Casey's so vague in trying to invoke like 8 different rights. Mm-hmm. Casey has generated a long list of circuit conflicts. Continued adherence to Casey's. So basically what it's saying is because everybody's. So Casey invokes Roe and now everybody's invoking Roe and Casey. So now it's just creating a long list of just garbage in the courts, right? Mm-hmm. Continued adherence to Casey's unworkable, undue burden test would undermine, not advance, the even-handed, predictable, and consistent development of legal principles. Okay, so we could probably stop right there. I'm sure, like, we could keep going, and there's like,
there's it starts getting a little more onto tangential type stuff with like other law, which is, I mean, it's important. But I think the key here is breaking down where it failed, where Roe failed, and where Casey failed in just like piggybacking. It's like they wrote some bad code, and then somebody else just piggybacked on the bad code.
Yeah.
Without going and fixing the old bad code. With, you know what I mean? It's just, and here we are.
I'm trying to look through Alito's opinion here. But I think the interesting thing they said, or that we've covered recently, is about the technology of it all. Like what is a viable life? Right. And today's technology is obviously better than the past. Right. So a child can be born earlier than previously. And I thought that was an interesting piece of verbiage because I hadn't thought about that. I hadn't thought about the medical technology aspect of what it means to be a viable life, because they always like to argue like, well, what is a life? And just like, well, yeah, like what is a life? You know what I'm saying?
Yep. I had a cousin who had a baby that was like, I don't know, 3 months premature or something like that, and weighed like a pound or something. It's like, well, that was totally within that second trimester. That would have been in, it would have been totally, okay to say that it was not viable. Viable kid. I don't know how old the kid is now, but it's I don't know, 8 or 10 years old now, something like that. So yeah, we've definitely changed what that line is from where it was when Roe was decided.
It looked like Alito's upset in his opinion.
See, I hadn't read his opinion yet.
Like look at this part right here.
Yeah, others feel strongly and all this. Yeah,
look, it says right here, 2 justices. He said eventually in Planned Parenthood versus Casey, the court revisited Roe, but the members of the court split 3 ways. 2 justices expressed no desire to change Roe in any way. 4 others wanted to overrule the decision in its entirety, and the 3 remaining justices who jointly signed the controlling opinion took a third position. Their opinion did not endorse Roe's reasoning, and it even hinted that one or more of its authors might have reservations about whether the Constitution protects the right to abortion. But the opinion concluded that stare decisis, which calls for prior decisions to be followed in most instances, required adherence to what is the
central holding of Roe. Yeah,
Roe's central holding, that a state may not constitutionally protect the fetal life before viability. Even if that holding was wrong. What does that mean? Opinion claim would undermine respect for okay, so wait, the opinion concluded that the president calls for prior decisions to be filed in most cases and required adherence to what is called that a state may not constitutionally protect fetal life, right, even if that holding was wrong. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So yeah, I would love to like pick into everybody's opinion in here, but this is a 213 page document, and well, we're on YouTube and we don't have much time. We're not going to bore people. I'm just want to get into the conversation of because I hear this is the problem, man. People are angry, and they're angry because they've been misled by progressives, misled by communists, misled by Marxists. Why? Well, this conversation is so screwed up that like my mind's going like 14 different directions, right? Like I want to talk about the morality of it. I want to talk about the state's rights, relinquishing your rights and allowing the courts to even rule on something like this. I really want to go into conservatives, but I'm also want to go in on people who are mad at this decision. So let's just talk about the conservatives and why they're wrong, and then we'll go into why the anger that people harbor. So if a state says that abortions are banned, basically what they're saying is that they have a right to make decisions for your body, right? It is not your body, your choice. And that's correct. That's one thing that the progressives get right. So people are like, what are you talking about, Hotep Jesus? Well, that means if they want to mandate vaccines, they can. The state can. It can make health decisions for you. It means that the state owns your body. You don't want your state to own your body. If people want to kill their children, that should be their business. Do I agree with the morality of it? Hell no. Absolutely not. Absolutely. I've been in the abortion room. Well, not the actual room itself, but the recovery room. I felt like a dirtbag. I didn't think I would, but I did. It's ugly. You don't want that. You don't want that on your conscience. I regret it. It's ugly. It's so ugly. And I just felt sorry for her in her recovery. I saw in her the life, and I'm not even talking about the life of the baby, but because the life of the baby left her, her life left her. You could just look at her and tell that she was lifeless. And that made me like, all right, I'm never doing this again. You know, I thought, oh yeah, you know, just da-da-da. So I'm not with it. I'm not with it at all. Okay. However, I don't believe the state should have a right to do that. Chad, and you want to add on to that?
Well, yeah. So I think the problem that we have here is that we're not striking at the root of the problem. The root of the problem is that we have disconnected the act of love and life from love and life itself. Back to that conversation about Aldous Huxley and sex for recreation and babies are made in test tubes. And that's where all this other stuff comes in, where we switch it up if we don't feel like we're in the right, you know, like it's just weird. Like we're getting to this point where if something doesn't stimulate you genitally, then something's not right there. And it's like, no, like there's the perpetuation of the human race. And like, I feel like the soul of humanity is being like torn asunder right now. And that's where we are. Where this stuff lands for me is this culture of death. Like we have to start thinking about where we go with the logical progression of this. Okay, so you make it illegal. Let's say it's Alabama. You make it illegal in Alabama. Somebody does it anyway. I think it's Alabama. Maybe it's Mississippi. It's like death penalty. Like, so we're gonna who gets the death penalty? The mother who aborted, or the doctor who performed it, or both. You know, like is she putting out a hit and the doctor's carrying the hit out? You know, at some point, where does this go, and to what extent are you willing to? Somebody said something a long time ago that it really stuck with me. Don't ever advocate for a law that you wouldn't shoot your own child to enforce. And so, all right, so your daughter goes and gets an abortion. You're going to kill her for it? You know, like what's the recourse? Yeah. What's the solution? And I think the solution to really get at the solution, instead of trying to chop off the heads of this hydra, is to get to the root of the problem and find the solution there and start to heal people. And I talked about this with you before we came on. I compare back to this thing about that stuff that they try to stick in people. What did Hotep Nation do? At the very beginning, you brought Tanai Ricks on, and you talked about alternatives. He had his own little kit of how to protect yourself, so you didn't have to deal with that stuff. We provide alternatives. We Hotep and build the alternatives. We build the life-giving path to freedom, and not just putting roadblocks up to ways that people want to destroy themselves, but not offering them a way to help recreate themselves and build themselves. And that's what we need to be focusing on. That's my perspective on this.
If you depend on government to solve your problems, you're asking for your problems to be exacerbated.
Absolutely.
That's what you're saying. You're saying, hey, could you please make this problem worse? Please make this worse.
Yeah.
I want you to, blow on this fire for me. Right? Like water on a grease fire. That's what they asking for. The moment you ask the government to step in the room and put pen to paper, like that 80-page document I still got to go through, they're going to add all sorts of provisions and regulations and stipulations into these documents that are going to curtail your life. So the lefties are angry. And why are they angry? Well, they're angry because they've been misled and miseducated.
Yes.
They believe that Roe v. Wade being overturned means abortions will be banned. And you're wrong. You're just wrong. That's not what it means. This is why we need people to get educated. The way they'll purport it in the media is evil, angry conservatives in SCOTUS, evil, angry Republicans like Clarence Thomas, sellouts. They'll say sellouts like Clarence Thomas, hate people, don't want us to have rights, and have made a decision to harm us. When you look at the actual damn document, the document says, I want you to have more rights. I want you to have more rights. That's what this document, Dobbs versus Jackson. Go and read it. Before you listen to CNN and all these talking heads on TV, go get the document and read it for yourself. Dobbs versus Jackson is giving you more rights. It's what happened today was a win for everyone in America. Everyone. But they will spin it. This is how great this Illuminati power is. It'll have you angry at your own freedom and happy at your own demise. Happy at your slavery. You say, oh, Roe v. Wade's passed. Yay. Oh, no, you lost your rights, but you're happy. This is what they call miseducation. This is called miseducation. They talk about misinformation. It's time to talk about miseducation. How about them apples? People have been miseducated about these things. Why? Because the press knows people aren't going to read. But if you read the actual document, Dobbs versus Jackson, it says, listen, Roe v. Wade took your rights away. We want to restore them. And you running around mad. That's
respecting the 10th Amendment, which reserves powers not enumerated in the Constitution back to the states and the people themselves.
And the people themselves.
is somehow like, oh my God, they're killing us. Like what was that thing? Silence is violence or something like that. Like, it's yes. Just, oh my God, it's.
And let me try to find this again. I want to find that verbiage in this case again and bring this up on the screen. So just in case people miss that part, because that is probably the most important part of this stream. The most important part of this document is what that 10th Amendment says, right? Or how this case refers to the 10th Amendment. Can you help me find it, yo? Let
me see
what's the verbiage
of the 10th Amendment?
Well, in this document, what did they say?
They were returning it's at the very beginning. It's at the very beginning.
Is it the very beginning?
Yeah, it is held. The Constitution does not confer a right to abortion. Roe, in case you're overturned, and the authority to regulate abortion is returned to the people and their elected representatives. It's held right underneath at the very beginning of the syllabus. The authority to regulate abortion is returned to the people and their elected representatives at the very, very top of page 1. It's like at the very top of the document on page 1, it's like the bottom.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know why it did that. Okay, I see it right here. My bad. It wouldn't let me get to page 1 before. All right, let me put this on the screen because this is very important. This is all you have to tell people. This is how you win the argument, people. We're showing you right now, live, how to shut down any liberal argument. It says right here in the document. Let's highlight it just in case, people need extra help. Held. The Constitution does not confer a right to abortion. Let's stop right there.
Yeah.
It's not saying we are banning abortions. It's not saying that we are not banning abortions. It's just saying the word abortion ain't in the Constitution, stupid. It's just not there. It's just not there, okay? So it says Roe and Casey are overruled, and the authority to regulate abortion is returned to the people.
And their elected representatives.
To the people.
Mm-hmm.
The authority to regulate abortion is returned to the people. To the people, Chad. It says it right there. It says it right there. Bro, page 1. Page 1, bro.
Mm-hmm.
People are mad and it's on page 1. You didn't even have to read the 213-page document. You just needed to read page 1. Could you get to the bottom of page 1? Could you make it that far? Could you make it? You didn't even need to, because it just, all this stuff is labeled, and the first labeled part is held. You could have just read the one sentence and would have been like, oh, okay, I understand what's happening here. The rest of it is just context.
You know how when Twitter asks you if you want to read the article before you tweet about it, you quote tweet it or whatever, they should have that for this. It's like, are you sure you want to comment on the Roe v. Wade decision? Shouldn't you read Jackson versus Dobbs first? Oh, shoot, man.
It's right there. And the authority to regulate abortion is returned to the people and their elected representatives. Why would you be mad at that?
Mm-hmm.
You have to be ignorant to be mad at that. That's what that is. That's ignorance.
And the other thing, too, is outgrowth from this forward. Stare decisis now holds that this decision offers the ability to argue on the behalf of people for future cases to return even more authority to the people and their elected representatives and not have the federal government pushing this down from DC.
Yes.
That's where the I don't know, the torso of the Hydra is K Street in Washington, DC. And to remove as much power from there and return it closer to home is always going to be better. And then you have that option of, like, people are already doing, people moving to Texas, people moving to Florida, people moving to Idaho to avoid the tyranny that exists in their states. You just create that even more. The one thing that I am concerned about, though, is that you got midterms coming up.
Yeah.
And I think the Democrats were DOA, and this actually helps them because now they have a lightning rod to mobilize people with. And the outgrowth of this that I'm concerned about is, I would not put it past, they already floated the trial balloons as soon as Biden was elected about stacking the court, about expanding the Supreme Court to 15 justices or however many, just like FDR tried to do, where he was like, oh, the Supreme Court overruled my shit. I know what I'll do. I'll just put more people in the Supreme Court and more of them will be my friends. And then they'll support my shit.
Then they'll support taking people's
rights away. And
it's very
important. It's very important that gets headed off at the pass. That at every step along the way, the 9-person Supreme Court, 9 justices, is where it stays, because anything that you do to expand it beyond the way that it is just going to invite an influx of whoever's in power at that time. Because then the next time, let's say Trump gets reelected or whatever, although that would almost be impossible because the Supreme Court would just find a way to, like, oh no, fuck that. We don't agree. They already did it with Bush. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. But, we're going to end up with 75 Supreme Court justices before it's all said and done. And in the year 3038 or whatever you were talking about.
Of course,
it just keeps growing.
Shout out to Catch Cam Super Chat. He said, as much as I hate abortion and those who champion it, I feel this is cannon fodder to attack further bodily autonomy, smoke grenades. Yes, that's exactly what this is. That's what this is. So let's break that down, right? Well, it kind of goes into what I wanted to talk about, was how the powers that be are so clever that they can convince both the right and the left to take away people's rights, but in different ways. It's like, look, we can take away their rights with this argument. And if that doesn't work, the argument to that argument is also going to take away.
Right. No, look,
Evil genius.
It's crazy. It's crazy how the my body, my choice, body autonomy, like these same folks who are going to be out here screaming and yelling about this are the people who wanted to make it to where, yeah, you should lose your job and you should be like ostracized from society if you don't get this shot. And their response, you know what their answer was? If you said, yeah, but what about my body, my choice? That's different. People's lives are affected by that. Like, hang on a second. So what you're saying is abortion, no one's life is involved. That baby's not a life. And actually killing it on purpose is not as bad as going to school and maybe getting a sniffles and coming home to grandma and then grandma gets the sniffles and grandma is 95 years old and so grandma dies. Maybe. Possible. Yeah. Those two things are equivalent to you, like, are not equivalent, but like one of them, the maybe with grandma is way more important to them than killing that baby.
Right.
And it's kind of interesting that this all comes a day after or 2 days after the approval of the 6 months plus stabbies to protect the vulnerable elderly people.
Yeah.
Where they're basically using these babies as bulletproof vests for old people.
Sidebar, I had the Uncle Hotep sign underneath your head this entire episode by accident.
Oh, that's okay.
So you've been Uncle Hotep.
Hey,
you're Uncle Hotep.
Remember that time when I was testing whatever stream service you were using or whatever, and I went on with you, and somebody said Uncle Hotep got bleached. I'm back.
Still white Uncle Hotep. Multiverse. But you know what's funny is if we had a rally for advocating to take away people's rights, the people that would be at this rally would be pro-abortion people and anti-abortion people. They'd be at the same rally.
Yeah.
They'd be at the same exact rally.
Same thing with the pro and anti-vax thing. Like it would be.
I was just about to say that. Right.
You'd have the same thing. You'd have the people, and it would be the opposites arguing for body autonomy.
Right.
And at no point would they look at each other and be like, "Hey, you know what? I think I finally understand where you're coming from."
Right.
Like that. It's just
but all four of them are at this rally, right? So it's like anti-vaxxers, pro-vaxxers. Well, the anti-vaxxers, I wouldn't say are at that rally, but they happen to be at the. They happen to be the same people advocating for abortion, right? I mean, to eliminate the right to abortion.
Right. They're anti-abortion too. Yeah.
So on one way, you're saying people don't have the right to bodily autonomy, but I want it when it comes to this vaccine, right? That's hypocritical. And this is why you have to call it down the line, because if you're not careful, you might set a precedent in your state saying, hey, you know, if we're banning abortions, then they come down the line with another pandemic, they're going to be able to say, well, we made this decision based on people's bodies before, so we can make this decision now. We can mandate it in your state. So that's why you have to be very smart, because the devil would trick you into bringing yourself to hell. You know what I mean? In a limousine, right? You will call the Uber to get you. You will call the Uber Black straight to hell, thinking it's something good. It's very, very evil genius like. And that's, you know, that's why I said, like, this conversation is, for me, it's hard to tweet about because it's too much nuance to it. The only thing I can tweet is that clause that we just read here in the held version. It's the only thing I can do.
Well, the only thing I tweeted was I asked people to tap into their charity and to find ways to offer women hope. Because, like,
let's talk about that. Yes.
Shutting the door and saying, you can't do this anymore. Ha ha ha. You know, like, this woman wants to kill her baby, and you think forcing her to have and raise that baby is the solution? And then laughing in her face and bathing in her tears? You might as well be bathing in that baby's blood because it's, and, you know, the other thing is too, at that same rally that you're talking about would be the pro-war and the anti-war people. You know what I mean? Like we're bombing little children all over the world for, all these different interests. I'll say that much.
Yes.
And there are a lot of those same people who are like all about that. This is so funny too. Some of these people today, they're tweeting about this and how horrible it is, but they got the Ukraine flag in their thing. I'm like, whoa, wait a second. All right. So like you're pro-gun control, but you have the Ukraine flag, and we sending guns to the Ukraine so they can defend themselves.
Mad
and
guns.
You also want to murder babies. Okay.
We don't like guns. We don't like guns, but you know what? Those big bombs and missiles, yeah, we love those.
Yeah.
Your gun's not big enough to be approved.
What is that thing? The DNC or whatever, where they like go in and like basically like disintegrate the baby and then suck it out or whatever. That's guns. No, don't defend yourself.
Yeah.
But that stuff, yeah. And then they're also like anti-police brutality. I'm like, okay, wait. So you want the people who have the guns, who are committing acts of police brutality, to be the only ones who have the guns, and you don't want to defend yourself against them. Got it.
Exactly.
It's you're right. The devil is slick. Devil is slick.
So we did say, because we're about to take this thing home now. If you depend on your government to fix your problems, you might as well expect bigger problems. So what does that mean? What do you do? Well, you have to change the culture. You have to change the culture. You have to change, one, how people view life. Period. How you view life. I'm not going to go into the whole philosophical thing, but because I can go on about this little take I have, but we have to affect things, not in the legislative branches, not inside these halls of government, but inside the halls of private organization, right? Our own propaganda campaigns. The only way to defeat propaganda is to have better propaganda. And you saw that before with the great meme war of 2015. Yeah. We won. They couldn't win. And after they realized they couldn't win, they banned everybody. I tweeted this last night. They banned everybody, changed the rules, and banned everybody. It was like, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, can't do this, can't do that. And you're banned. What?
Yep. Well, it's like what they did to Kareem, where they outlawed dunking because he was too dominant. Right. So we got to develop our sky hook now. Right. It's time to get to work. Yeah. Step and build.
Exactly. Got to work on your hook now. So, and he's still going to be super effective. But think about that. Think about the fact that the propaganda campaign was so effective that they had to change the rules, which means we can win. Which means we can affect culture. We can affect people's lives. So, and I think we do a good job of it. I think that's why they try to hide us behind algorithms, et cetera, et cetera. And I think we do such an effective job of that they have to cheat and hoax and ban and coax. But that's the solution to the problem. The solution to the problem is use propaganda to educate people. People are mad right now about this decision. And all I did was tweet that one line from the decision, Dobbs versus Jackson. The Constitution does not confer a right to abortion. Roe and Casey are overruled, and the authority to regulate abortion is returned to the people and their elected representatives. Now, if somebody is angry at this tweet, I don't know what to tell them. I don't know how you get angry at this tweet. So I'm waiting to see how people react to this, and I don't think you can refute this tweet. I don't think you can refute that line. Yeah, but that's my solution. Don't call your representatives. Affirm the church. Like I was talking to homie this week. And he said that church attendance is down 50%. obviously because of the pandemic, right? So let's get back in there and reinvigorate these institutions of morality, right? That's what I believe a church is in these religious places. They're institutions of morality. So we have to create these things and support these things, and then through that, we will begin to affect how people view their life, how people view life, how people live their life, etc., etc. Last chicken nugget, thank you for the super chat, said, just found out my job, large tech company, is going to reimburse people to travel to get an abortion. Crazy. Happy Friday, y'all. That is wild. However, I'm not going to be upset, right? Again, private people have a right to private things. And if that's what they want to do with their money, hey, you know.
But they wouldn't pay for you to go across state lines to get a fake card to let you into an arena or a restaurant.
They won't let you go across state lines and go get you a firearm.
Or a firearm, right? Exactly.
Right. Catch the Can said defeat propaganda is with proper gander. Bar. Uh-oh. Catch the Can rhyming in the chat.
I feel a song coming on. He's gonna have one done by the end of the week. Watch.
He better get on the Roe V. Wade, Griff.
That's right.
This shit is paying dividends. Somebody put well put, sir, under my tweet. I'm just reading from the document.
Well put, sir. I don't know who wrote that part of the syllabus. Because like that's not the Alito opinion, but like I'm assuming it's anyway. I don't know anyway, but it's just funny that you're getting credit for quoting the document.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like I'll take it.
You should tweet love your neighbor as yourself. Good point, sir.
Bro, I just tweeted that. Let's look at some of the responses here. Shout out to Jev. White Hotep Summer said SCOTUS has restored democracy. Christian Frame said abortion is still legal in the U.S. See, gets it. Accurate. Well put, sir. Somebody put an article in. Leftists now want to start a revolution against the same government who agrees that citizens should be disarmed. Good luck to them. Right. Exactly. That's what you were talking about before, right? The gun argument. Man, this is really wild. This is really wild. History lesson for Twitter: just like the jabs, is state regulated. Move to California if you don't like it. Yes. Somebody said, please educate the sheep. We're trying. It says it right there. Like, why are y'all mad? But they mad because they've been misled, and it's our job. It's our job to lead the sheep in a different direction. It's our job to become the shepherd.
Yeah, word.
Right, and you don't herd the shepherd by the sheep by beating them.
There you go.
You don't do that. You don't beat them, but you must corral them. You must lead them, because that's just how it is. Life is separated in. Here's the thing about the shepherd and the sheep. Relationship with the shepherd and the sheep, as far as humans are concerned, are swappable. For example, in many cases, Chad is the sheep and I'm the shepherd. But when I started into my anarchist studies, Chad was the shepherd and I was the sheep. So these roles are going to be swappable depending on what expertise. Like, I'm not going to be able to go to somebody's farm and tell them how to farm. I don't know anything about that, right? So in that case, I'm the sheep. Lead me, right? If we're dealing with guns, Cannon, lead me. Show me where I go, how I maneuver this space. Like when I wanted to get my firearm, I called Cannon. I called my brother, right? These are the things I did. So there's always going to be sheep in some form of fashion. People are busy. They're working at their jobs. How are they supposed to navigate this political landscape?
Yeah.
They're going to need a
shepherd.
shepherd.
Possibly autodidact everything. You have to have some help.
You have to.
It's impossible. You don't have enough time in every day.
Right. When it comes to some of the law stuff, if I don't understand it, I'll go watch Legal Mindset. In that case, he's the shepherd and I'm the sheep. So there's always going to be instances of this relationship. The problem is people aren't comfortable being sheep, or they're not comfortable being shepherds, or they're just not good at either role. Right? So you have to want to be a sheep and know how to be a sheep, know how to follow. Like they say, in order to learn how to lead, you must first learn how to follow. And then, being wanting to lead, wanting to give people the information and recognizing who's ready to be led. That's another thing. A lot of people are trying to lead people who don't want to be led. Yeah.
Well, I want to say something about what you said about beating the sheep versus, like leading with love. And I want to, I don't want to come off as like super soft on this or anything like that, but like it's a sign of strength to not have to yell and scream and beat people over the head to offer them the path to safety and security and fulfillment. And I bring this back to like my dad. So my sister was like a freshman or a sophomore in college. She got pregnant. She was terrified to talk to my dad about it because we come from like a really, really conservative family. Like it's not like, anyway, when she finally got the guts up to go and talk to him and she told him, you know what his response was? Open arms, love, love. And so that's like where we are, this particular subject that we're talking about. That's the response at every turn, because all this other stuff, I know it's fun to, drink liberal tears and bathe in liberal tears and all that stuff can seem fun and everything. Yeah. But you're not winning anybody. You're not winning any converts. You're just preaching to the converted.
But especially with this.
Yeah.
This is a subject that it probably doesn't make sense to like rub it in their face. Because
the backfire.
This is the midterm. This is the midterm ammunition right here. This overturning Dobbs versus Jackson is the midterm. And that's why I'm laying light. Now you might see me post some memes on Instagram. Okay, that might happen. But the thing is, when I post the memes on Instagram, I'm posting them to my stories. And the left isn't gonna see that unless they're like, hey, I need to go see what Hotep Jesus. And then a lot of people just aren't doing that. So it's between me and my community, right? The problem with memeing on Twitter is it's going to get out to everybody, right? And it's going to be retweeted, and they're going to be like, look at how these people, And so it's a slippery slope, right? Like in some ways you got to meme because it's fun and, you want to rile the base. But another way, it's just like you really fanning the flames. So be careful. You got to tread lightly. You got to be very strategic on this subject, man.
Yeah. Well, go back to that thing, the held part of the syllabus that you tweeted out. The Constitution does not confer a right to abortion. Roe and Casey are overruled, and the authority to regulate abortion is returned to the people and their elected representatives. What do you think Stacey Abrams and them are at? Oh, the authority is returned to the people and the elected representatives. Okay. We will mobilize the people and we will elect the representatives.
Yes. Yeah.
So you better be ready. You better be ready to, yes, meet that with compassion and also mobilize your own people and elect your own representatives. And I know, like, we talk about this all the time, like me and you aren't like the voting type, but I don't know. Here recently, I've begun to shout out to Sonny Johnson because I feel like most of it, her and Jeff Charles are where most of the inspiration for me to get more involved locally in that stuff. Yeah. So, because there's a lot of this stuff that it's just been, quite honestly, like over the last 20, 30 years, it has really been like, it doesn't really land on me. Like Bill Clinton's president, George Bush's president, we're going to war in Iraq, we're doing that, whatever. Like, it didn't change my job. It didn't change what was happening with any of that stuff, my kids or anything. This shit is like really, I feel bad because like I was just like, yeah, I'm an anarchist. I'm just going to go about my business and build my own shit. But like these people don't sleep. They are constantly working behind the scenes. And I have gone into the belly of the beast, and it is not a fun place to be. Those people are the money that is in those people's pockets and everything. We have a lot of work to do. And a lot of that is because we haven't been doing the work that we needed to be doing for the last. So I'm in. I'm all in. I'm trying to like do everything I can to help the people over here who've been actually working on this stuff when I wasn't, and helping them. And I suggest everybody else do the same thing. But before we go, because I know you're about ready to wrap up. I just want to say this, and this is not like just to like blow steam up your ass or anything like that, because I know we do this a lot. Pause. But
thank you. Yeah, that was pause worthy. Jesus Christ.
But I really like. I want everybody watching this probably already knows this, but I want everybody who doesn't already know this to hear this. You have like one of the most valuable minds, at least in this era, and maybe in a long time. And I think the more people have an opportunity to come at this stuff and I saw you tweeted out, somebody had said, no, I want to hear what Hotep Jesus has to say about this.
Yeah.
Like, that's really like, I'm not trying to put too much on you. Don't hang your faith in your hat on a hook that can't bear the weight. So I don't want to put too much on you. Yeah. But realistically speaking, when it comes to shepherding people, it's not just about having intuition and having a perspective that is valuable. I think your mind and your heart are valuable because the way that you approach these things is always with the desire to do what's right, the desire to lead people to find a way to do what's right. And I really hope that people can understand that and can really, I don't know, put, as you said a couple of years ago, put gas in the tank of the car that's going where you want to go. And that's where I've been. And it's been an honor to work with you, and it still is. And anyway, I'd be remiss if I didn't say that out loud, because it's I know it comes across in some of the other stuff that we do, super chats and whatever else and all that stuff. But you got to give people their flowers while they're alive, right? Because we don't last forever. And this has been really good. And I hope everybody got out of this what I did today.
I mean, it's like we all have personal agendas. And then there's a group agenda, and then it grows from there, right? Mm-hmm. But there are agendas, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be lying if I said I didn't have a personal agenda. I do have a personal agenda, absolutely.
Yeah, me too.
A certain amount of level of success that I want to reach. However, I don't believe that I have to compromise morality to reach my goals. I believe that, because, here's something I used to repeat a lot. And I used to look at my lack of success as being a failure of not adopting evil, right? So, for example, we see a lot of people out here just scamming, right? Like straight scamming and becoming millionaires. And we're like, damn, like, I wish I could just like, for example, like, hey, go buy my course on drop shipping and you'll be famous as me. And it's only $100, right? And then people get it and it's just like, it's a crap product or whatever it is, right? But it's because the person's actually better at marketing the product, whatever. So, because they're just scammers and they're
buy my book on how to sell books about how to sell books.
Right. So you see people succeeding doing evil things and you think like, do I have to, you start saying like, only reason why I'm not successful is because I won't cut corners. But that's actually not true. It's just that they're running for fast money. And usually fast money isn't big money. Big money is slow money. And I'm after big money. And doing the right thing might take you a little bit longer to get there. But when I get there, things will be beautiful. We're going to do great things for this nation. We're going to do great things for the world. But that's just where I come from. I just come from a place of, I can say the right thing. I can say the right thing to do. It might not be in alignment. For example, we know that in order for somebody black to rise the ranks of conservatism, they stick to the talking points. I believe that I can agree with conservatives and sometimes deviate from the talking points. Like right now, technically, the grift is I should be online like, aha, libs, you lost, blah, blah, blah. Like that's the posture I should take if I wanted extreme popularity. If I took that stance, I'd be at 1 million followers. I refuse to take that stance because that's going to affect the lives of people.
Yeah.
If I take that stance, I would be saying, take my rights away. I don't want my rights taken away. I'm not championing abortion, and I'm not championing banning abortion. I don't believe we should ban it because it sets a precedent. We talked about this. So again, I have goals, but I know when I can't compromise my morals to get there, man.
Yeah, and you build it on a house of cards too. In a lot of cases, like that stuff comes crumbling down real fast if you build it the wrong way. So there's a moral case and there's a success-based case that actually align together. And so why not pursue it that way? Slow and steady wins the race, you know?
Yeah. Waldemar Perez, or is it Valdemar? Valdemar Perez Jr. says men have left because the church has been taken over by non-card holding ists. There is a lot more respect there. There's not more respect there. Interesting. Sergeant Hoddle, thank you. He said, I highly doubt this Roe decision is natural. This is the techno oligarchy's last and only option to get the dementia-crats out to vote for this feckless tyrant Brandon, in my opinion. I would not argue that at all. There we go.
Yeah, so you froze.
Even though I've been voting since the late 80s, voting didn't seem to have anywhere as much significance as the last decade. Sonny is partly responsible for realigning that. Shout out to Sonny Johnson. Sonny Johnson will be at HotepCon August 11th to the 13th at the Ahern Hotel in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's going to be a great weekend, Thursday to Saturday. We're going to have great food, great drinks. We're going to sit down. We're going to have intimate conversations with Project Rook, Kim Klasick, Sonny Johnson, and Crypto Wendy O. I'm going to have individual conversations with each one of these ladies to pick their brains about life and society and the particular topics that they are experts in, most particularly politics and money. So you guys are going to want to be there. We have a great crowd coming out. Tickets are selling. There are only VIP tickets available. Last year we did general admission and we did VIP. And after that experience, I realized that everybody wanted the VIP experience. So I said, well, let's only do VIP experiences. So VIP experience means you're going to spend a lot of time with me. Yeah, you're going to spend. It
was a great weekend. It's going to be an even greater weekend this year, I think. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Promo code FBI for 10% off. I'm just saying, you know.
See, perfect. Promo code, you support Chad, promo code FBI, get you 10% off HotepCon tickets. You can get your tickets at hotepnation.com. Shout out to our sponsor, Twitch app. But yeah, man, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. I'm going to go ahead and spend some time with the fam now. It's my daughter's graduation party day.
Congratulations.
So go ahead and do that. Hell yeah, man. I'll see you soon.
All right, man. Peace.
Twitch presents our next big thing. Something long promised, but never.
All right, see you, bro. Tell Senior said,
paid
congrats.
For using Twitter. For how many long years have you toiled for free on this God-forsaken site? What a mess. What a shame. What could have been. But now Twitch is here. To save the day, yet again. You'll finally be getting paid for all your hard work.